Omni-Man continues to be one of my favorite characters in all of comic book history. Man, that guy's amazing. This review contains spoilers of the entire season of Invincible Season 3. Invincible Season 3 is created by Robert K Kirkman and stars Steven Yeun, J.K. Simmons, and Gillian Jacobs. It follows the exploits of Mark Grayson, also known as Invincible, who tries to protect Earth from many threats, including the Vultramites, a superpowered species with the only desire to destroy and conquer worlds. In this season, Mark trains his brother, Oliver, voiced by Christian Convery. I'm a huge fan of the Invincible series as well as the comics. I am currently reading the comics and I am adoring the world, the characters, and I really enjoy the character of Mark Grayson. I think that Mark Grayson as Invincible is just fantastic. He's just a really well written character, and I think that Robert Kirkman does a fantastic job writing for this series. This series is incredibly well written and well realized on paper as well as on screen. I had a blast with Invincible Season 3. I don't think that it's perfect. It's not the best season of the bunch, but I had a really good time. It's got some weak episodes and it's got some few filler episodes, but overall I enjoyed myself with Season 3 of Invincible. If I had to rank all of the season, I think it would be the second one first, and then the first season, and then in last place, Season 3. I liked seeing like Mark Grayson and Eve's relationship develop here. I like Adam Eve's character a lot, and here I thought that she was written a little differently than in the comics, because in the comics she doesn't rely too much on Mark. She's really very independent and she's strong and she does a lot more, in my opinion, in the comics. Here I felt like she was written kind of like to be dependent on Mark, and I thought that she was a bit weak here. I didn't like how her powers evolved as well. I thought that was a bit off this season. It felt kind of convenient, and like I don't like what they did with her in the finale of this season. I thought that it was just really stupid the way that they handled Eve. It felt unnecessary and out of place. But she's a much better like love interest than Amber was, and she's more suited as a mate for Mark than Amber was, because they're superpower beings. They're both superheroes. And I think that they go well together. They're really a cute couple. I like seeing them on screen, and I like their chemistry. I also like Mark's relationship with Oliver. Oliver is Omni-Man's son, and I think that Oliver is an interesting character. Oliver still sees the Omni-Man like as a good man. He doesn't really care about all the terrible things that he did to Mark and like the people of Earth before he left. And he wants the people of Earth to forgive his father, but like they're not there yet, obviously. Even Mark forgave Omni-Man, but I don't think that he would still like accept his father back in his life. And Oliver really wants to kill bad people. He doesn't want to give them a second chance. He wants to end their lives, and Mark is opposed to that like for the majority of the season, until near the end he realizes that like killing is probably the only option that's on the table. And I don't fault him for that, because like the Vultramites are coming and you have to kill the Vultramites. There is no dealing with them. There is no redeeming them. They just want to destroy. They just want to conquer, and Mark can't stop them if he's not willing to kill them in combat. Like he has to end their lives. It's non-negotiable at this point. One of my favorite parts this season was Mark and Cecil's relationship, and like how things really sort of goes from bad to worse with these two. Cecil has continued to deceive Mark over and over again, and Cecil believes himself to be the hero. But I don't think that the end justifies the means here. I think that Cecil is just a bad person, and I think that Mark has like the right attitude not to trust Cecil, because he's just lied to Mark several times, and he even like put a chip in his brain so that he can control Mark out of fear, because Mark is a really powerful being, and his father just tried to conquer Earth like many months ago. And I understand Cecil's reasoning for doing what he did, but at the same time, I understand like Mark not trusting Cecil anymore. And I love the scene where Mark breaks into the Pentagon and he tries to get to Cecil, but there's a bunch of robots in his way, and he just like massacres the robots. And this scene leads to like the Guardians of the Globe just splitting up, and I like this because it just raises the stakes for like the superheroes and the people of Earth as well. Like Cecil loses a bunch of superheroes, he loses Rex, and while some do decide to stay with Cecil, like Immortal Man and like Darkwing, they are completely now split up. They broke up the band, and Invincible doesn't want to work with Cecil anymore. And Invincible even notices that like he is under surveillance by like these type of drones, and at first he thinks it's Cecil, but Cecil says to him that it's not him, it's somebody else. And Cecil wants to know like who is surveying Mark just as much as Mark does. I feel like it's really weird that like Mark never really prepares himself for the Vulturmite attack. Like he has the books, right, that his father like wrote, and there's supposed to be like weaknesses to defeat the Vulturmites hidden in these books. So why isn't Mark like studying them every night to figure out like weaknesses for the Vulturmite? It doesn't really make sense to me. Like I understand, and the weaknesses may be on another planet, but I would still be reading those books, and like we didn't really get a mention of that in season 3 yet, and I think that was just really strange. Also, Omni-Man is my favorite character of the Invincible universe, and we only get like one episode with him this season. He is criminally underutilized, and I feel like he should have been shown more. And the Vulturmite storyline is probably the most interesting storyline in the entire Invincible lore, in my opinion. I am dying to see more Vulturmites coming to Earth and then like destroying everything. But I feel like we didn't see Omni-Man enough, and I like what happens with him and Alan in like the prison ship, and like when they try to escape, and Alan wants Omni-Man to fight for Earth. But we didn't get enough of that, in my opinion. It was great when we saw it, but I felt like we needed more Omni-Man this season, and I felt like he was just a little bit short. I also like what they did with Debbie this season. Debbie is sort of going through a lot with what happened with her ex-husband. So I like that they gave her a love interest this season, and I thought that the guy was a good dude. He tries to be present for her and for her kids, and he accepts Mark and Oliver. She tells him basically that they are superheroes. And yeah, I like Debbie's storyline this season as well. My favorite episode this season is when the many Invincible variants get into Earth because of Angstrom and Levy's takeover. I like this episode a lot. Now, I feel like the many Invincibles are sort of just like carbon copies of Mark. They're just evil, and there's not really story to them, and I get that complaint. Like I know a lot of people complain about that. I still think that they were like a great menace to the people of Earth, and I like that Mark has really like a terrible time with them, and Adam Eve as well. I don't like the character of Angstrom Levy. I think that he's a very weak villain. Just the concept of the multiverse, I'm not that big of a fan of, but I think that it's done well. But I just don't like the character of Angstrom. I think that he was handled poorly in season 2, and I think that he's handled poorly in season 3 as well. And yeah, they get their ass kicked. Like, Mark gets his ass kicked a lot this season, and I don't really understand why, because he's supposed to be invincible and he's supposed to be like the strongest superhero on Earth. The series doesn't really show that all the time, and I don't really like that aspect of the show. It's almost like kind of repetitive, the way he just like loses fights over and over again. He just like ends up in hospitals, and it's kind of like overdone. But I still like the way that the character was handled overall this season. Like I said, my favorite episode was episode 7, where like the mini Marks attack, and like Adam Eve ends up in a hospital, and then episode 8 happens, where Conquest just attacks the living shit out of Mark, and he just kills a bunch of people, like hundreds of people. And it's brutal, man. It's really violent. It's some hardcore stuff. The character of Conquest, I liked. I thought he was a strong villain. I just enjoyed Aniso more in season 2. I thought that she had like a stronger presence, and I liked her character more. I thought that she was better written than Conquest was. But I found Conquest to be menacing, and I like the way that Invincible like kills him. He just like bashes his head against Conquest's skull until he dies. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't like what they did with Adam Eve this season, really. I thought that she was kind of weakened, and I don't like what they did with her in episode 8. Everything with her healing ability that she just magically discovers. It felt very cheap. It felt just very badly written, and I was kind of disappointed with what they did with her character. Also, the character of Powerplex, I just didn't care for. I didn't like his storyline at all. The episode that focuses on him mostly is the episode that I disliked the most this season. I just didn't like his storyline, and it felt very like recycled from other comic book properties. It felt very like Batman versus Superman. It just really didn't interest me, and I didn't like the character of Powerplex. And he was voiced by Aaron Paul, who I like as an actor, but I didn't think that he was interesting all that much. I wasn't a particular fan of some of the episodes. Like, I wasn't really a fan of the one that took place in the future, where they sort of battled like the immortal, and like the Earth is just completely desolate place. Nuclear war has happened, and like people are there only to survive. Mark is taken there by like two kind of bubbling idiots. He's taken there, and he travels to the future while he's on a date with Eve, and he needs to kill Immortal Man, and Immortal Man just begs Mark to kill him, and Mark won't do it. Mark has too much of a code. He won't kill bad people even though like they deserve it. A lot of them don't deserve redemption, and Mark won't kill. But eventually he does kill Immortal Man. My problem with the episode is just that it feels out of place. I would have been fine if this episode was like the premiere episode of the season, but it felt like a detour. I didn't really like latch on to what was happening at the moment, and I liked the Immortal Man as a character, and I felt like a bit of disconnect while like watching him be the villain of the episode, if that makes sense. So overall, I like this season of Invincible, not like as much as season 2. I think that season 2 is my favorite season overall. There are a few changes from the comics, like they're not adapting the comics like volume per volume. They're just like taking storylines from here and there, and they're making an adaptation of the comics, which is fine. That doesn't bother me. The writing was a bit uneven this season. The animation is great, though. The animation is fantastic. And the characters are still great. Like, I love Rex this season as well. Rex was just fantastic this season. He was one of my favorite characters, and I felt so bad when they killed him off. But, like, when there's multiple universes involved, it's hard to care about, like, characters dying, because you just know that they can bring them back eventually, like it might not be like next season, but eventually Rex will be back probably. So it didn't really like impact me too much, but I still really like the character of Rex and what they did with him this season. So I'd give the season 3 of Invincible a B. I think that was solid, not great, but solid entertainment, and I'm looking forward to season 4. Let me know what you think about Invincible season 3 down in the comments below and the entire series. And if you've read the comics, let me know where you're at. And let me know. Please like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.